There are many habits that I've carried with me for a long time, but most of them are usually pretty small and I don't really think too much about them. Talking to myself, walking around to help me think, not letting myself do anything until my phone is finished charging. I've done them all, but there is one big habit that I've done for about 3 years, and honestly, I would have never thought that this one singular habit would have affected my life so much, and the way I've tried to separate between real life and my own world. The biggest habit that I've been doing for 3 years was fantasizing. I've basically been fantasizing an entire fake world in my own head, and I've been slowly integrating that life into how it could happen to real life. And from that, I had to eventually find my way out of it and realize that I'm not living like this. There's one really big fake scenario that I've been thinking of ever since I started this habit. But I'm gonna go into the smaller stuff first because they're pretty fun to do. Still, to start off, I'd say the common fake scenarios I do the most stem from the exciting intensity and catchy music videos with tons of action in it. I like to interpret myself as the main character doing all the actions and movements that are happening in the original song. That, or I sing the lyrics of the song at the top of my lungs to really feel the passion of it. Imagine it like I'm at a fake concert and everyone is clapping to my singing voice. God, this is so cheesy. Hopefully, if you were to ever catch me doing that, it should seem like I'm just jamming out to music. The weird thing about it is that in order for me to be in complete fantasy mode, I have to have my AirPods in at max volume, and also, for some reason, I have to be moving around to be able to fantasize. I can't get it right if I'm just sitting down. I need a small area with no distractions to do it. I guess with the help of walking, it keeps my blood flowing and my brain braining. And you know what? I don't even do it for just music videos. I go into full fantasy mode for many videos that I watch. Typically the ones that I've watched too many times and I've memorized everything that people in the videos say. Unfortunately, I've done this so many times that I do it randomly. I sometimes start mimicking the person in the video. Stop it, force of habit. Let me watch my videos. This next type of fake scenario is going to sound very stupid and probably the weirdest thing to fantasize about, but I love to do it a lot for some reason. This is more of a guilty pleasure, if anything. I remember back then, during the older years of YouTube, there used to be tons of tribute videos that were full of fan art and drawings of fictional characters. I would know, I've watched many of them. Oddly enough, this exact form of content was engraved so deeply into my head that I started to fantasize about tribute videos of me and all of my non-existent friends. Oh my god, this might be the cringiest thing I've ever admitted. But I love doing it. I don't know why. It could be that music has been a great way for me to fantasize about things that I want to do, that I've simplified it all the way down to a wholesome art collage. Imagine how embarrassing that would be if everyone I've known before has watched the types of videos I fantasize about. Well, actually, I fantasize about that too. Ever since I started fantasizing, I liked the idea of engraving that into a somewhat real-life scenario where one of my high school classes would react to a video or animation that I made. This scenario is something I do surprisingly more often, mainly because in real life I have no way of bringing anyone's attention to me, and the only way to do that is to use my strength and make something cool that'll impress everyone. Coming back to fantasizing about music videos, I like to imagine that I made a really cool animated music video for my class to watch. These two things are linked. I do them a lot. I don't really know how it all started. From what I can remember, showing off a talent I want people to know me of is something that I want people to know of me. Off topic, before anyone thinks that these animations are something that never happened, I actually have been able to make animations that I did present for a class. I did it twice, and they gained very positive feedback. Weirdly enough, the difference between fantasizing about presenting a project I'm proud of versus actually doing it is very high. I'll just stick to fantasizing. Okay, enough blabbering about the little stuff. It's time for me to bring up where all of this happened. Where did all of this fake scenario stuff come from? This takes back to around summer 2021. I was once listening to a video with some really nice music. I was once imagining myself within those pictures that I was looking at. But then it just occurred to me that I couldn't really imagine this sort of thing if it's just me within the image. And obviously I didn't want to do heavy fantasizing with a person I knew in real life. So I ended up creating my own character so that whenever I'm making a scenario in my head and I need other people to play different parts of the story, I could use them. Which characters did I end up creating? Well, you see, this whole fantasy thing that I've created was something that only went on in my head and never left. It wasn't until later on when I got the courage to bring these characters to life, in a sense. I have a separate set of content on my channel, an animated series called A Fantasy. From an outsider's point, it typically seemed to be just an ordinary little show with characters interacting with each other and creating a plot. Although that is exactly what I'm trying to get at, there's a lot more backstory when it came to creating this, in terms of characters. Back then, in 2021, there were 2 characters that I created who made a significant impact on me when I just started fantasizing. Those 2 characters were Lawrence and Amanda. If you've watched the animated series, I'm sure you'll recognize them. They were the first 2 characters I ever made. There are tons of old artworks I made of them, and overall, the both of them have struck through my weird brain since the beginning. I have been imagining an entire future ahead of me when I was finally out of high school and living life as an adult, or in college, with a small amount of true, genuine friends. I'm talking about these 2. I've been fantasizing about living life to the fullest and have been imagining how much better my life has been now that I've escaped a huge obstacle that I was facing in the current time. While I was doing this, it felt great, but really, the biggest obstacle I had to face was learning that my life is not a fantasy, and I needed to get myself out of those thoughts before it gives me high expectations of the future. To be honest, the whole reason why I've been doing this is because of how poorly high school was treating me back then. I can't emphasize it enough. I was so lonely and drained every shred of self-esteem that I ended up imagining a fake life in my future where everything is okay. I've done it for months. I didn't want to keep it up anymore. I ended up throwing the habit away. Only until last year, I wanted to give these characters more than just a figment of my imagination. Thus, the animated series began. It's weird to know how much my love of fantasizing has really developed over the years, and understanding what type of scenarios I'd like to interpret, even if they have 0% of actually happening. But I do know one thing that actually did happen. I've always wanted to make a YouTube channel and talk about how I fantasize about wanting to make a YouTube channel. And wow, look at me! Let's hope that this wishful thinking doesn't catch on anymore. I just don't want to get so caught up in my own thoughts that I actually had to try and escape them. The thing is, it all started when it was during my darkest years, and now that all of it is over, I can start fresh. Although my future may never be how I used to envision it, I hope to find the happiness that my past self wanted me to.